Hi. Let me just start off by saying that my name is Mrs. J. Burton, and I am a teacher at Sutter Middle School, and I'm working on my Master of Arts in Science Education. And we are asked to do an interview with persons on some concept in science. And the concept of science that I'm considering here is, the concept of living. And let's just start with where your name and where you're from and how old you are.
I'm Andrea Bailey. I'm 31 years old, and I'm originally from Los Angeles, but living in North Carolina.
Okay. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a series of questions, and if you could just, whatever comes to your thoughts, just let me know. Let me begin with the first question. When you hear the word living, what does that mean to you?
Something that breathes, excretes, reproduces, and has regenerative features.
And when you hear the word non-living, what does it mean to you?
Something that's dead.
And what criteria did you use in deciding whether something is living or non-living? What was the criteria?
The function of the organism.
Okay. And how would you classify living or how would you classify the following in regards to being living or non-living? A car?
Non-living.
And the reason?
It can't self-sustain.
And what about a cell?
Living.
And the reason?
It's self-sustaining, and it has all those features that I mentioned earlier.
Okay. What about a molecule?
Living.
And your reasoning?
Because it has all those features I mentioned earlier.
Okay. And a dog?
Living.
And reasoning?
Well, it breathes, eats, poops. It's self-sustaining, and
okay. What about a fire?
I would say it's living.
Okay. And what would be the reasoning?
Because it can regenerate itself. It has different cells that make it come alive.
Okay. What about a pencil?
Non-living.
Okay. And why is that?
Because it is unable to regrow parts, and it's unable to self-sustain.
Okay. What about a banana? Banana on a banana tree.
It's living.
Okay. All right. What about a baby?
Living.
Okay. And reason?
It's able to self-sustain by breathing, eating, pooping.
Okay.
Eventually it can reproduce when it gets older.
Okay. Okay, what about malaria?
I would say it's bacteria, and it's living.
Okay. And the reason?
Because the bacteria grows, it reproduces, it's self-sustaining.
Okay. Fungi?
It's living.
Okay. And the criteria? or reason?
It lives, it grows, it reproduces, it regenerates itself.
What about
Self-sustaining.
what about a protist?
Yeah, it's living.
Okay. And what's the reasoning?
Because it feeds off of other things and it eats and it lives. I mean, it breathes. It regenerates.
Okay. And what about plants?
Yeah, they photosynthesize and they grow and they reproduce and they pollinate and all that good stuff.
Fish?
Alive.
And the reasoning?
Well, they breathe, they excrete, they reproduce, they grow, and they eventually die.
Okay. So, amphibians?
They're living.
Okay. Would you say the same? The reasoning is the same as with the fish?
Yes.
Okay. How about reptiles?
The same. They're living.
Okay. And the reasoning is the same?
Yes.
Okay. As with the fish and the amphibians?
Yes.
How about birds? Are they living?
Yes. They're living.
Okay. And would the reasoning be the same as with the fish, amphibians, and reptiles?
Yes.
Okay. And what about mammals?
They're living.
Okay. Due to the same reasons
Yes.
as the others mentioned?
Yes.
What about an animal?
They're living.
Okay. Okay. What are other kinds of things you would consider living that we have not mentioned?
An embryo. Like a fetus.
Yes. Okay.
Grass.
Okay. And the reasons why these are living?
Well, an embryo, it consumes, it excretes, it breathes, it has cells that regenerate within itself. And then grass, it photosynthesizes and it grows and it eventually dies and it reproduces and it.
Okay. And what are some things that you would consider that are non-living that we did not mention earlier? What are some other things that you would consider as non-living? Say we have 3 things.
Furniture.
Okay.
Books and electronic devices.
And what would be the reason? What was the criteria you used to determine that they were not living?
They're not self-sustaining. They don't breathe. They don't feed off of other things. They don't reproduce or regenerate themselves.
Okay. All right. And what is there anything else you would like to add to this as to whether something is living or non-living?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the conclusion of the interview, and I really appreciate your time and your thoughts and willingness to share your thoughts and ideas with me. And would you re-clarify what your name is and your age and where you're from?
Sure. My name is Andrea Bailey. I'm originally from California, but I've been living in North Carolina for the last 10 years, and I'm 31 years old.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, and I really appreciate your input.
Thank you.
You're welcome.